Let me know. Welcome to LSG's 2020 Voter Forum for Maui County Council member race for the Lanai'i seat. For the first time since 1959, where Lanai'i will be, or this is the first time since 1959, where Lanai'i will be represented by, will not be represented by a Hokama or a Kaho'ohalahala. I'm going to announce the roles of our meeting. Butch will introduce the candidates and be our moderator. John will be our timekeeper. Simon will be live streaming on Facebook. The video will be saved for later as well. Anthony will be filming for a kaku that will broadcast shortly after this. We are missing our board members. Kelly will be off island, and our longtime board member and founder, Uncle Ron McCumber. Announce some brief formatting issues. After intros, candidates will make a brief introductory statement. Candidates will then answer LSG's 5 pre-selected questions that were provided to them last week. There will be a random order of answering some questions that was determined by LSG beforehand. And then we'll have a short break, and candidates will then answer questions submitted to LSG by the community and their voters. And then we'll have closing statements. So a couple of ground rules, candidates. Moderator may interrupt the candidate if they believe that the candidate is not responding to the questions asked. Candidates will not interrupt other candidates, and no rebuttals will be allowed. Candidates will address only the moderator and not other candidates. Candidates will also not use any derogatory language or allude to anything negative about other candidates. The timekeeper will hold up a yellow card indicating that there are 30 seconds left, and a red card signifying the end of their 2 minutes. Any questions? All right, let's get started.
Okay, good morning. I want to welcome everybody online, and I want to introduce our candidates, all 3 candidates. We're very excited having here this morning, and they all have made multiple runs at the Lanai'i Council member seat, so this is a pretty exciting race. To my immediate right is Matt Mano, born and raised on Lanai'i. He's a veteran. He has served on a variety of community meeting organizations at the Planning Commission. He's currently a board member of the Lanai'i Community Health Center, and that's where we're holding this forum this morning. He has worked for Dole Company, Lanai'i Company, our school, and most recently he retired after working for the county for 25 years, and has been an active member in his union, the UPW. So welcome, Matt.
Thank you.
In the middle, we have Gabe Johnson, who was born in Miami, raised in Cleveland, Ohio. By trade, he graduated with a degree in education and taught in Japan and in Lahaina, and then moved to Lanai'i in 2005. And he's held a variety of jobs on island, working for Four Seasons, Pulama Expeditions, and most recently he's an organic farmer with Humu'olo Farms. He's a single parent and has a daughter who's in high school at Lahaina Luna. So welcome, Gabe.
Thank you, Butch.
And to my distant right is Alberta DeJetley. Born on Molokai, raised on Lanai'i. Her family has deep roots on the island, as does Matt's family. Most of you know her from Lanai'i, running not only her own farm for a number of years, but being the owner and editor of, in the past, Lanai'i Times, and more recently, Lanai'i Today, and had also run the newspaper back in Hana. So, welcome, Alberta.
Thank you.
So, I will be starting, right now we'll have introductory remarks by the candidates for about 1 to 2 minutes. Why don't we start off with you, Alberta, then Gabe, then Matt.
Thank you very much, Butch. Thank you for Lanai's for Sensible Growth for giving us this opportunity to meet with you and your board, and also with the wider community and the people who are watching us on Zoom. I decided to run because we have so many exciting projects that are coming up in the near future, and I want to make sure that we are able to fulfill them As you know, our affordable housing project has been waiting with the county for more than 30 years. I think that is a real shame, so I'd like to make sure that as a member of the Maui County Council, I will be able to move projects for Lānaʻi forward, working in collaboration with the other council members. So thank you very much for your time.
Aloha, I'm Dave Johnson and I'm running for the Maui County Council Lanai seat. Let me take this opportunity to talk about my platform. It's helping out our economy with good paying jobs and a clean environment with a healthy economy. There's 3 points that I want to make in my intro and we'll get into as we get along with the questions, but affordable homes can be built with the idea of using a land trust and as well as working with our federal credit unions. And also we still need that skate park for Lanai. So those are things that I want to really push when I'm elected. So vote for me, Dave Johnson. Thank you.
Hello, Mike. My name is Matthew James Johnny Hanamano. I was born and raised. I have 7 generations living on this island. My biggest concern is the youth of today. I watch them and I see no job availability for them. I believe that they are the most important thing in our lives. I've got 17 grandchildren, 1 great-grandchild, and I wonder what kind of job will they have in the future that will promote themselves into the higher class of this economy. I'm also thinking about what's happening with our kupunas of Lanai's. Do they have enough housing? Can we take care of them? These are very important issues because I'm a kupuna. I just started, I'm 67 years old and I am very concerned, and even with the health matters. And with that, hey, it's up to you guys, whoever you guys vote for. I'm not going to tell you guys vote for me, who knows? If you do, you do. I just thank you for this opportunity. Aloha.
All right, thank you. LSG, on the pre-selected questions, as we did in the forums 2 years ago, we have the random order of answering the questions. So for question number 1, it will be Matt, Gabe, and then Alberta. So question number 1, what is or what are the most pressing issues facing Lanai and its community, and how do you propose addressing them? Matt?
You know, the pressing issues right now is on Lanai. I can see probably affordable housing. That was on the table for so many years and it have never gone through. And I can see why the reason of it. If you look at the infrastructure for affordable housing where the county has their land will cost pretty much a couple of millions of dollars because they're going to have to put pump stations, they're going to have to put new sewer lines, they're going to have to put water lines, electrical lines. And also the pressing issue is how many participations did we have? And that is the big issue. Another pressing issue I would think of would be our infrastructure on our roads and stuff. It hasn't been taken care of for quite some time. When you look at our roads within the city, they're practically not upkept. And then there's another pressing issue. Who owns Keamoku Road? Because every road that leads outside of this city is a state road. So to me, Keamoku Road should be turned over to the state. Thank you very much.
Dave?
The most pressing issue for me is the brain drain that we suffer by having our children leave Lanai as soon as they graduate. Small towns often suffer from this problem when the youth believe they can't do better than their parents. My daughter's graduating class is about 30 kids here, and I would say over half of them leave Lanai as soon as they graduate. So now we import people from the mainland to do the jobs that our kids could be doing. But why would they stay? Can my daughter buy a home here, or her chances better off in Las Vegas? It's the age-old problem of being priced out of paradise. And over time, it has long-term consequences. We are a service industry island. Our youth won't work in the hotel if they know that they'll be living check to check for the rest of their lives. So we export our best and brightest, and that's a travesty because culture is learned and our children know the island. They know the culture, and when they leave, we lose our culture. It's the famous Lanai expression, we export 2 things, pineapple and our children. Well, in 2020, we don't even have pineapple. The way we fix this is to give them hope, we give them good paying jobs, affordable housing, workforce training, and we diversify our economy.
Because of this pandemic, I had a list of priorities that was really important to me, and because of COVID-19, I've thrown all of my priorities out, and I am going to focus on ensuring that the people of Lanai's and the rest of the Maui County have a roof over their heads and food on their table for the duration of this COVID-19. If you look around us, we have had so many people unemployed, and people like me who have not been able to apply for unemployment because of the huge backlog of people. I have been unemployed since March 15th, and to date, I still haven't received a penny. I just got word now that my application can be processed another way through PUA. I had some money saved to pay for my taxes, but then I have been living on my tax money. What happens to a young mother when she has no food? What happens when they're on the verge of being evicted from a private rental because they can't pay the rent or their electricity is turned off? So I'm shifting all of my priorities as a future council member to taking care of people. That will be our most pressing problem, and it won't be an easy fix. We can't expect this problem to go away in 2 or 3 months. I envision us having a hard time for the next year, year and a half, 2 years before we can get our industries up and moving again. So that is my priority, taking care of people first.
Okay, thank you. So the second pre-selected question in order will be Alberta, Matt, and then Gabe. So what are your specific, that's the operative word, specific plans to implement the Lanai's affordable housing project?
Well, if you have been going to the Lānaʻi community meetings, which are held every month, you know that Mr. Ellison's project for affordable housing is going to be moving forward. This is totally separate from the county's affordable housing project. And over the last year, Hawaiian Homes has just released 16 more house lots. Those 16 house lots could have been released 30 years ago, but they're just getting around to doing it now. So within the next 2 years, you will see more affordable housing coming onto the market. And I think all we can do now is to encourage our residents to plan for this, to prepare for this, to start saving their money so that they can have a down payment for their house, and also to implement county programs that will help give first-time homeowners the education they need to plan their finances and to possibly help them with very low-term mortgages for their startup, for their down payment. Thank you.
Matt?
Thank you very much. The affordable housing plan has been on the table for decades. When I was on the planning commission with also Alberta, we have gone through the county affordable housing plan, which was on 5th Street all the way below the Hawaiian Home. That plan came about. We seen what the drawing was all about. We seen how the infrastructure was going to be in. And like I said before, the county plan, their fear was pump stations. That pump station, because it's in a hollow, it will take a lot of electrical power to bring that sewer water up to where we are at Hawaiian Homes and then distribute it to the wastewater treatment plant. Pulama has a plan that's right around the treatment plant, which is a good idea. I like that idea. Because right now you can free flow it. Depending on where they put it, you can have it gravity flow down to the wastewater treatment plant. My concern is, with that, because of the smell of the place, how many people will want to buy it? Because if we do have corner winds, that thing will enter homes. It will. We've seen it many a time. So that will be one problem. For us to implement the county one, we're going to need to have the state get involved and the federal. Because if the state and federal government get involved, then they will take most of the brunt to put in all the infrastructure. And we already got the land. The county has already distributed the land. I've met with some guys who wanted to know where the land was. They came to my wastewater treatment plant and I showed them from the outskirts, where 5th Street was, where Hawaiian Home was, and where the county property was. So they were planning on doing what they needed to do, and these were engineers. With that, I think that it can work if we get enough participation from the island residents. Thank you.
Aloha. My affordable housing plan is a universal plan that will work throughout Maui County. There's three things that are key to making an affordable housing plan. First, we need to create a land trust. By having a land trust, you cut your home cost in half. And half of your value of your home is the land, so the other half is the house. So a $40,000 house becomes a $20,000 house. Truly affordable. Secondly, we use non-profit builders, such as AmeriCorps. We often ask for-profit developers to build our homes that they won't make any money on. And we wonder why they drag their feet. How many affordable homes are owed to the county by rich developers? Hundreds. Thirdly, we get the Lanai's Federal Credit Union involved by issuing county grants for first-time buyers. Too often our mortgages are tied to big mainland banks. And what I'm saying is let's keep our money local by using local credit unions.
Great, thank you. So question number 3, order of answering will be Gabe, Alberta, and then Matt. So how often will you be meeting with our community, with your constituents?
Well, I promise to have meetings on Lanai quarterly, at the bare minimum. Although I'm cautious to say monthly because of what COVID holds. I don't want to promise a monthly meeting and then we're still in the throes of COVID. I don't want to do a public meeting at that time. So quarterly, I think, is a reasonable promise for you. That's it.
Is it my turn?
Yeah.
I plan on holding monthly meetings. I can do them by Zoom. I can do them in open spaces like in Dole Park. I can meet with 2 people or I can meet with up to 50 people. But I will hold monthly meetings and I will also be available for private meetings with whoever wants to see me. So if your group, Lanaians for Sensible Growth, would like to talk Starry and get together, fine, just pick up the phone and call me. If any other group on Lānaʻi would like to talk to me, I'm more than open to talk to them. So I really encourage people to step up to the plate and to let your council members, regardless of where they live, what district they serve, or which one of the 3 of us is your council member, rattle their cage, tell us what you think, tell us what you need, tell us what you would like us to be doing for you, because we are your public servants. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Question number 4 will be answered by Gabe, then Matt, then Alberta.
You missed me.
You missed
Oh, I'm
that.
sorry. I'm sorry.
But thank you very much. The question is, how often will you be meeting with our community, your constituents? You know, I agree with Gabe and I agree with Alberta. The thing about this is when you're a county council person, it depends on what's happening every month with the meetings that goes on. Sometimes it goes on during the weekend. So to make promises that you can't do it every month would be a little bit over the wall. Quarterly, I believe that can be done, but like I said, it depends on if you're a county council person. What happens in the meeting, where you need to be, depending on what you are chairing, which might take most of your time. I mean, logically speaking, I would do it every day if I could, but you know that's not logical, correct? So, I'm just going to stay with, whenever I am available, I will be on the island to meet with my constituents, one-on-one, 10 on 10, or whatever, but I will make sure that I am here to let you guys know that I am working for you. Thank you.
Thank you. My apologies, Matt.
That's okay, that's fine.
So question number 4 will be Gabe, Matt, and Alberta. What's the county's role and responsibility for our island's water, if any? And what's your position on establishing the Lanai Water Advisory Committee by ordinance?
Thank you, Bush, for that question. It's a very important question, and I'm really curious to hear what my opponents say about it. So here's my answer. Water is a public utility. So I believe water should be in the hands of the public. I believe the public trust doctrine, which binds our government to take care of our natural resources. I understand that Lanai's Water Company is a private company, which is why I support LWAC. And to be officially recognized by the county, we should have a small budget that would allow the county staff to come and travel to Lanai and record LWAC meetings.
Oh, let's keep meeting. Okay, thank you very much for the question. The county's role in the water system, I do not see any county role in it, but I'm thankful for LWAC. I mean, LWAC has let us know about how much water is being utilized and how the water is actually stored, and also how many millions of gallons that we do have. I mean, on the planning commission, it was always brought forward. I believe that LWAC should in all ways have the advisory committee by ordinance. I believe that if they're in there, then we won't have anybody tell us that there is water when there's not. I need these LWAC guys to also go out there and do the measurements. I've had some secret people who tell me that the water wasn't measured correctly. But I couldn't do that on the planning commission because of one reason: they worked for the company. So I kept it quiet. But it has been ongoing for quite some time. And LWAC needs to be in there. Thank you.
Water is an issue throughout Maui County now, and if you are developing your property, the first thing that they'll ask you is, show me the water. Where's the water? If you go back into the island's history, the pineapple company controlled the water because they were the owners of the island, and they were the major user of the island's water. When Mr. Murdoch did the transition and was doing the transition from pineapples to tourism, they started upgrading the system. During that process, we had experts, water experts, come to Lanai countless times to explain how the water is gotten out of the ground and how it's delivered and doing all of that. Now with Lanai company, Kulama Lanai, the water company, I think they're doing an excellent job. The county does not have the resources to come in here and take care of our water. I think it would be a huge step backward. As far as the Lanai Community Advisory Water Committee, maybe as a committee, yes, you could be an advisory committee, but you were disbanded years ago. I think that you should have the opportunity to meet with Lanai Water Company whenever you want to. But the water standards are very strict. There's state and federal regulations that they have to follow. So I would say no to an advisory board by statute, but yes, you should be able to meet with the Lanai company as a group to discuss water. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So for question number 5, it would be Matt, Alberta, and then Gabe. How would you describe your relationship with the major landowner? Or what do you envision the relationship should be between Lanai's council member and the major landowner? Matt?
Well, personally, I haven't met the landowner. I only met his CCO or the CEO, whatever, Kurt. So I don't have a relationship with the landowner. And as a council member, if you do make the council, you will have some sort of people come over and want you to have a relationship with the landowner. My vision is, I'm willing to work with the person, but there are certain stipulations that I will have to hold back. If he is, because I'm a culture person. I love my culture. I don't like to see it destroyed. I don't. It's a heritage that has gone generations after generation. So outside of the outskirts of Lanai City and wherever the hotels and everything else is at, I would be an advocate to take care of not just my culture, but all culture. Because if you go down Keomoko, there is a Japanese church and school down there. There's a Japanese gravesite down there. There's a lot of cultures that should be involved with it. But like me as personal with the landowner, I have no personal relationship with the landowner. I don't know who he is. I've never seen him. He might be in a store. You know, it's just like having some actress on the island. I don't go up to him and say, hey, how's it? My name's Matt Mono. Who cares, right? That's the way it is. Well, thank you very much.
Albert?
Well, I will have to say that I have had the privilege of meeting Mr. Ellison. He was a visitor to my farm several years ago with some of his friends, so I have met him. I have a good working relationship with his executive staff. I respect Mr. Ellison's privacy. I respect the fact that he can come to Lanai'i and wander around our community and just wander around. But he has people in place who manage this island for him. And I feel that we should respect his privacy and work with whoever he has appointed to oversee this island. I really feel that without Mr. Ellison's intervention in this COVID-19, that this community would have been in a whole world of hurt with more than 1,000 people unemployed. So I worked for Mr. Murdoch, and I knew how often he was slammed right and left by people who felt he was doing the wrong thing or not doing enough. People resented him for calling us his children. He truly loved this island. I think Mr. Ellison has the same kind of deep love for Lanai'i, but I do want to respect his privacy, and I'm more than willing to work with the executives who he has appointed to oversee his business interests on this island. We do not need to have a personal relationship with him.
I do not have a relationship with the landowner, and as your council member, I would advocate for the citizens of Lanai'i and Maui County. You are my first priority, period. I would hope Mr. Ellison works within a moral framework and simply does what is right. I will praise him when he does the right thing, like keeping our hotel workers employed during COVID, and push back when the community disagrees. For example, I rose in opposition of Mr. Murdoch's big windmill project, and not all my opponents can say that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So for the last pre-selected question, we'll start with Alberta, then Gabe, and then Matt. So with the current economic situation due to COVID-19 and its impact to Hawaii's economy, what is your position on diversifying the economy? If you feel that it is necessary to diversify the economy, what are some of your ideas?
I'm already working on a project that is in its conceptual stage. If you look at what happened with Lanai Cat Sanctuary, what did we do? We built a shelter for 650 cats, and we created 10 jobs, full-time jobs for people in this community. We also added 18,000 visitors a year coming to Lanai'i to visit the cat sanctuary. The project that I have in mind would create an assisted care and living facility in a complex, which would also offer rental space for Oha, Napu'uvai, Queen Liliuokalani Trust, maybe possibly the preschool, and maybe possibly an adult daycare center and an infant care center. These are all things that we really need on Lanai'i. So instead of just looking for how we can rescue the tourism industry or what other things we can be doing like farming, assisted care is a really, really big industry that's happening all over the United States because we are aging communities. So that's one of my goals, and what I would be working toward is to figure out how we can do businesses, services for local people, because we're always going to be here. Tourism may come and go, but local people will all need these services, regardless of what's happening in the rest of the world.
Building an agricultural park on Lanai'i is key to economic diversification. When we import 90% of our food, then I would say there's a market for farmers. Lanai'i is majority zoned agricultural land, so let's do what Lanai'i is good at and start small farms. Even if the tourists don't come, and I'm sure they won't come for some long time, Farmers can sell produce to Lanaians, thereby keeping our money local. Overall, our county needs to start producing some goods and products. We need to start exporting something instead of just importing something. That is the key to sustainability, that is key to diversity, is we cannot just always take things from the mainland. We need to start exporting things. We have a brand here in the county, made in Maui, made on Lanai, made on Molokai. That is something the world around, all around the world, they want that product that we can produce. So I think, do what you're good at. And Lanai has a history of farming. So that is the key to, I think, economic diversity.
I agree with both of my counterparts here. I believe in that. What we can do is agriculture. What we can do is create more jobs by having entrepreneurs open up. I believe that with the college that we have, I think we can have some high-tech things being made on Lanai. But I also believe that we once was in agriculture. We had pineapple, we had all, but the cost of it was excruciatingly high. When you can get products like pineapple and everything else from the Philippines and everything, we pay the laborers 10 cents an hour, you wouldn't think that Lanai would be able, or Honolulu or Maui would be able to upkeep that. So agriculture would be a great idea if the landowner would allow you to get the land, because we cannot confiscate it as county members. We cannot do that, right? So we have to go and plan with the landowner. And that's a vision where he already has his hydroponic and he's producing a lot of stuff. But he also learned it from the farmers from here. He went and did a tour with Dave Guy's farm. He asked questions and all of a sudden you have hydroponics. So it's like, every entity, everything that someone wants to do, he actually jumps in and does it in a larger scale. So his scale is looking about exporting. Okay, so I agree with both of them. We need to figure out how we can diversify. Tourism will always be here. I'm sorry, it will. When this pandemic is over, it's over. It will be here. Thank you.
Okay, so that's the end of the pre-selected questions, and you guys went through that pretty quickly. So we'll jump into the questions that were submitted online by the residents and voters. So, and this one, you jump in, if you're ready to answer it, go right ahead. The first one is, why should you be considered the best choice for this role and to represent Lanai and the needs of our community?
I'll jump into that. Thank you. When I moved back here to Lanai in 1996, I decided that this is going to be my forever home. So I became very, very involved in community activities, working with nonprofits, doing all kinds of different things to support our community. In addition to that, I have an extensive background in business where I have owned and operated several businesses during the course of my many careers. I think the thing that I have that is the best for me is that as a journalist, I have learned how to look at both sides of the problem, analyze it, and do what I think overall is going to be good for the entire community. My focus is on people. My focus is on creating jobs. I have the experience and the ability to make things happen. So I hope that voters will go with me and vote for me. I'm supported widely by a number of unions, including the Maui Chamber of Commerce. And I'm really, really proud that I was able to get the endorsement of the Planned Parenthood Association. That's one of my favorite charities, my favorite nonprofits. And when you look at what can happen when two ladies on Lanai built this, it was a dream that they had to create a women's health center, and we ended up with this beautiful community center. So it takes people with the ability to dream and to take their dreams and to make it become a reality. Thank you.
Okay, I think, what was your question? Can you read it again, please?
Why would you be the best person?
Why should you be considered the best choice for this role and to represent Lanaiʻi and the needs of our community?
Okay, I got you. So in 2018, I ran against Councilmember Hokama, and I won the island of Lanaiʻi. And for a guy like me, to me that means a lot, because I think that my platform was ringing true to the people of Lanaiʻi. So I think that is a key point in understanding that it's we're tired of the same old over here. We want new blood, some fresh change. So I think that's why I'll represent you, because that's where I'm coming from with new ideas. Aloha, thank you.
The question was, why do I think that I would be the best person on the county council seat to represent Lanaiʻi? Number one, I was born and raised here. Number two, graduated. Number three, went into the military at the age of 17, ended up in Vietnam when at the age of 18. Came out of Vietnam, got my honorable discharge, came back to Lanaiʻi, and I felt like I was 30 after that war. It affected my life, but I strived on till today. From that time in the early 70s, we fought for a lot of things. We went against Kaho'olawe. We were a small group of Lanaians that decided, let's battle to Kaho'olawe. We went to Kaho'olawe. The big mass never showed up. It was just us. I steered that canoe from here to Kaho'olawe, and I brought it back without any canoe covering. I was taught by Reverend Daniel Kaupuiki how to get there, because he was the savior of Lanaiʻi, Kemokote. So I got knowledge from this man, and I found out that I could reach there in about an hour and a half to 2 hours by catching the currents that he showed me. After that, we fought for Hulupoe Bay to make it a sanctuary, because we was watching a lot of boats coming in, defecating, peeing, throwing their liquor bottles and everything else in that bay. We fought for that. We stood up against that. Then we went against the first group that wanted to build a hotel. That's when Dean Darazario and Max Kincaid and all of us sat in the cafeteria and we went against Lanaiʻi Company. Because we believed that, hey, pineapple is funny. The last and most interesting thing that I did, I got my name on a suit with Kaulana Kaho'olawe against the windmill. We were the only two Hawaiians that was willing to stand up, and we stood up against that. And I got ridiculed by all the unions and a lot of my family and friends. And thank you very much, but I believe I am the right person. Thank you.
Thank you, timekeeper. Okay.
I like that.
Come on, Don.
Can we get off? Matt, get off.
Okay, this question is only for Alberta. You're a board member of Napu'uwai, which has been virtually invisible and inactive on Lanaiʻi over the past year. Would you support transferring the assets and resources of Napu'uwai to Lanaiʻi Kinaole? If not, why not?
Well, first of all, we had a lot of difficulty in our transition to a new executive director. Napu'uwai is federally funded, and it would be next to impossible for us to transfer our assets for Lanaiʻi to another agency. Don't get me wrong, I love Lanaiʻi Kinaole, but it just cannot be done. We have been working really hard on Molokai with reorganizing and restabilizing our nonprofit, and we have managed to cut back on our expenses. I think we're on the right track. We're not quite ready to resume services on Lanaiʻi, but we haven't forgotten Lanaiʻi. We just are in a position now where we have to revamp, sit back, and really be serious about what we're going to be, what services we are going to be providing on Lanaiʻi. I cannot speak for the rest of the board, but it would be almost impossible for us to transfer assets. Thank you.
Okay. This question is for all of you. It's kind of a two-part question. So given the impact of the pandemic on the county budget What ideas do you have about generating revenue? Conversely, in the absence of significant revenue generation, what are your cost-cutting proposals? Along the same lines, what would be your financing approach to pay for county expansion / improvements for Lanai and the county?
I can go. You guys all right?
Butch, I think you need to break that down into 3 separate parts. It's really, generating, it's too long. The question is too broad, but you can cut it down into 3 sections.
First question. What was the first question?
First question is, what ideas do you have about generating revenue?
Okay. Larry Ellison pays $2 million in property tax for the entire island of Lanai. You know who also pays $2 million property tax for is the shops at Wailea. So you have retail tax for land so high that no mom and pops could afford the shops at Wailea. And then you have the entire island of Lanai paying only $2 million in property tax. So I'm for a progressive model for tax reform, in which if you can afford it, you can. If you can't, then let's cut you a break. And I know plenty of mom and pop shops that cannot afford that kind of taxes, but I also know that Larry could pay more in taxes on his property. So that's how you generate it. The other thing is how do you maintain the funds in the meantime? How do you keep your budget up? And that is right now we have COVID funds being issued from the feds to give to the state, and the state dishes out to the counties according to your population. So Lanai, our population is small, so we're not going to get a lot of COVID funds. So that is a concern, but also I think that if the mayor dishes it out properly, we could be protected from that. So COVID funds is a really important part of that.
Second question.
Do either one of you want to
Okay,
answer?
I'll go on to the generating revenue. With the new property tax, most of the county's money comes from property tax. I don't like the way the property tax has been restructured, because what happens on Lanai's is you have a lot of old-time Lanai people who were part of the brain drain. They moved off to other islands to live, but they still have their family houses. They're paying the highest rate possible because they're not owner-occupied. And I think it's really, really a shame that these people who were born and raised, grew up here on Lanai, moved away, still have their family house, and now they're forced into positions where they have to sell their homes. They're never going to rent them out as a long-term rental, because all their family memories and memorabilia and photographs are all in that house. And the house may sit empty, but it's still home for them. So raising property taxes is not my idea of how we can generate money. Maintaining funds, do we need to stop now?
No, just a fact.
Eventually, the federal funds are going to run out. So I think we need to be very, very conservative and very careful about not forming new agencies and trying to conserve our money so that we can help the residents throughout the county, because they're going to need our help.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm next. On Lānaʻi, when Allison started buying homes within the city limits, tax prices went up. I know for Kaika, Ernest Magawai's home, and they paid a couple million for that. And Larry and Gina, when he sold his house for a couple million, taxes does go up. I mean, it's incredible. I don't like to see taxes go up on property, but how else can we generate such funds? The county right now is sitting on a budget, and my concern, because I was the vice president and the negotiations committee chair for UPW, anybody in the state right now, HGA, HSTA, UPA up in University of Hawaii, next year is negotiations for them. next year, they're gonna be asking for pay raises. And the reason why they're asking for these pay raises is because they're the lowest paid in the state. If you look at all these private entities, you look at construction workers, some of these guys make 35 to 60 bucks an hour. And they work 10 hours a week, a day. You know, and they do pay a lot of taxes with that, but they also pay a lot of union dues. We do too, and we're covered. But the county has a responsibility for his county workers. These guys are all highways department, environmental, parks and rec, all these departments. They will be asking for pay raises, including HGA. So where does the funds come? I've been talking to some of these state workers, and they're afraid that they're going to be furloughed because there's no funds generated, especially in the state. So to figure out how we're going to generate these funds is a good question. It's up in the air. Thank you very much.
Okay, so the second part of the question is, in the absence of significant revenue generation, what are your cost-cutting proposals?
Oh, shoot.
Well, I know we cut costs on the Maui Tourism Bureau, and I don't want to gut it to the point where it has no meaning. I think it needs to be more pivoting, and instead of one department doing it, maybe they could do something, because they're really good at marketing. So in the times of COVID, we need PSAs out there, you know, to let the public know. So if maybe the Department of Health is doing those things, maybe the Maui Tourism Authority could do something like that. So that way you're switching their role to do this role, and that way you're balancing the budget better.
You know, cutting costs is a thing that's up in the air. A lot of the workers who work for the county and the state, I mean, it's impossible to tell them that, oh, we're cutting you guys' pay. And they already are paying for their benefits, which is not that easy. I mean, it's nice if you have a husband or a wife that works with, you know, Pulama and all that, because their benefits is not, but when you retire, what happens? In the state and in the county, when I started in the whole plan. I started at a wage that was so low that I had a hard time trying to keep up with the house rent, paying everything up. But then when I retired with only $20-something an hour. Think about it, okay? When you think about that, it's hard. Where are you going to cut it? It's hard to cut because you're going to have people that will be homeless. Thank you.
I'd like to add to that. When I started working, when I was 15 years old in the pineapple fields, I got paid $1.25 an hour. And that was a lot of money in those days for a 15-year-old teenager. What I'm looking at now is we may have to cut the budget, and we may have to cut employees, government employees. And I'm looking at the fact that if we're going to cut wages, we need to cut from the top down, not from the bottom up. So if you're in an executive position with the county, I think that you can expect a pay cut. I think it will not be a very popular decision with council members, but if you're a council member, you might see your salary cut. We have to take care of the people at the lower end of the economic scale. So I'm going to advocate for cutting from the top down so we can take care of as many people as we can.
Okay, thank you. This next question is just for Matt. Have you been an active participant on Lanai's by attending community meetings or taking a stance on issues?
I cannot say I've been in every committee meeting. That would be, then I would be lying. But I did take on some stands of issues. I'm not the kind of person that go out and open and do the stand. I don't even do it now when I do things that in the community that I donate things. I don't let everybody know that I'm donating $100 to the kid. I don't. To the basketball team, to the baseball team, softball team. I just go and drop the money because that's what I believe in. I believe in it. I shouldn't be out there advertising. Oh, look at me. Why don't you put me in Maui News? I gave $100. I've done a lot of that even in Maui, at Walmart. Because my concern is the kid. I look at athletics as a way of getting into college. I look at education as a way to get into college. A lot of these kids on Lanai, most of them don't even get into college. But to answer that question, no. I haven't been to a lot of the community meetings. I'm busy with my job when I was working. We do nighttime work, we flushing lines at night. Sometimes the timings are off. But see, we don't go out and advertise, oh, we're working tonight. But we gotta do it because it's environmental. And if we don't, we go to jail. And I'm not willing to go to jail because the sewer is overflowing and I don't care about that. Because that's the law with us who have licenses. No matter where in the state, if you see something overflowing, you need to stop traffic, call the police, call the fire, and then call the waterworks people. Thank you.
Okay, we'll take this last question for all and then we'll take a short break. So please talk about your teamwork philosophy since it will be an integral part of doing your job as a council member. In addition, please give us examples where you successfully work together as a team.
So this is the life before I came to Lanai. I was living in Japan. I was on the JET program, the Japan Exchange Teaching Program. And I ran for a position called the Association of the JET Program, where you ran against all of the foreign language teachers, and you know it was a good time, and I represented all of Southern Kyushu. So within the JET program, there's people from all English-speaking countries come to Japan to teach English. So I had to represent Canadians, I had to represent Kiwis, I had to represent Australians, British, all those different countries. So I felt that coming from someone with a different background, you know, my culture, meeting with somebody who we shared the common language, but we're totally different cultures, that really made me learn so much on how to operate from people with different backgrounds. I'll take that experience, I'll come into the county council, and yeah, we might come from different backgrounds, but I know how to work with people who don't see eye to eye with me or don't have the same culture as I do. I think that's a key point that the county council can work on is, I don't mind disagreeing with people, but you know, who do we all work for? We work for the citizens. So I don't take things personal when I disagree with someone. That's part of democracy. You know, we got to have that messy debate, and then the good ideas go to the top, and that's called democracy, and I'm all for that. So I think I've been, you know, in really contentious issues, and I went home and slept good. I don't mind having a disagreement with folks. Thank you.
Sydney?
I work really well with people for the most part. I work with all of you in this room. Matt, Gabe, I've worked with all of you. My thing is that it's okay to disagree with people. I am a firm supporter in community activism, where people in the community stand up for what they believe in, have healthy, constructive criticisms of different things that they disagree with. I was one of the few people that supported the wind farm project, and I appeared on Insights in Honolulu on PBS television in a debate with Walter Riddy, Robin Kay, and Kanobo Helm. And you know what? We had a great time. The phones rang off the hook. The producer was really, really happy because a lot of people were calling in. There was a lot of misunderstandings, misinformation, and disagreements on the wind farm project, but we all got through it. We all survived, we all came through. One of the reasons I supported it is in the fine print, the Lānaʻi community would receive $1 million per year of the 20-year purchase power agreement for community development. $1 million a year, just think of all the new businesses we could have started with that money. But that's all down the road and over with. My thing is, hey, let's agree to disagree. Let's disagree and fight for what we want, and let the chips fall where they may. But it's all part of the process and part of having a healthy democratic government.
I think since I worked for the county of Maui, I didn't know we had a union when I first started in 1998. I thought we were just county workers, county employees. But then we had a union meeting and everybody in the county on Lanai approached me and said, you know, Matt, we want you to be the chief steward for Lanai. And they said, what are you guys talking about? And they said, well, we want you to be a chief steward so you can represent the members of UPW. So I said, okay, and that's when I first met Titin Nakani. That's when he first became the director. From 98 till the time I retired, I've been in many offices, but the highest that I've ever held from Lanai that has 1,500 members in Maui County, I held the vice presidency for Maui Division Executive Board, and I held that for almost 12 years. I've been through many things with the board, I've seen many things, and I've heard many arguments with these members, and I've fought for many of them. Molokai and Maui, including Lanai. Then I got appointed as the negotiations committee chair, which represents 13,000 to 14,000 members, making decisions against the employer on what would be best for the membership. And I worked well. I had 17 members on the board. And we give and take. Like our brother said, we agree that we are able to disagree. But in the end, we all agree for the betterment of the membership. So I do work well with a lot of people. I've done it. I've worked well with the new guys who took over the plant. I taught them, I trained them, and now they're in charge. With that, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. So why don't we'll keep it live, and we'll take a 10-minute break. Okay?
Is there any submitted questions on the
Blind, cannot see.
So we're going to cut it? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we're back live to the 2020 virtual voter forum for the Maui County Council Lanai's. So this next question just goes to Gabe. There has been talk on Lanai about your inexperience in governmental procedures and implementation. How can we trust that you will know what to do as Lanai's county representative?
I think maybe I didn't express my experience well enough to folks that they didn't know this about me, but I was the Maui County Commissioner for Americans with Disabilities Act. I was the vice chair of that commission. So I cut my teeth on trying to run those meetings. I think that shows my concern, my compassion for kapunas, for people with disabilities, and I think that's where my heart is coming from, that I think that we, the county, the commissions can all help folks who need it. So, I mean, you're not an experienced council member until you get in, so that's part of that. But the rules of running a meeting still apply on commission level. And the other thing is you don't go in alone. You have a staff. You have an office staff, and they will guide you. You know, you kind of talk to the office staff about what you want to do, can it be implemented? And there's a whole process on how you go about pushing your things that you want to have happen. So you have to propose it to the lawyers will come back to you, and you all do this through the staff. So you'll have a staff meeting, and the staff are the ones who have the institutional experience, institutional knowledge. I'm going for the issues, the things that the citizens want. So that's where I'll be coming from. Now, I will make one last point is, a lot of times when a council member gets in, they tend to do their thing, but I'm going to call upon a very valuable resource in this community, and that's Councilmember Ricky Okama. If anybody knows the institutional knowledge, it's Councilmember Okama. So I will knock on his door. I think I have a working relationship with the man. I ran against him, and we had our differences, but it was never anything personal. And I'm not going to go in with big pride or big ego. I will ask Councilmember Okama when it comes time to ask him. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Gabe. Next question is for all of you. What can you tell us about your knowledge of Lanaians for Sensible Growth and its importance to our community, if any?
Oh, I'll take that one. You know, I always had a very difficult relationship with your former deceased leader, Ron McCumber. I respected Ron for what he was trying to do, but I resented his saying that Lanaians for Sensible Growth represented everybody on Lanai. I always thought that you should have a membership list so that people knew who you were representing. I resented having them say, your organization say, we represent all of you. I represent myself. I think that over the years, yeah, you guys have done a lot of good things. I really respect the good things you have done, like such as, the rules at Pool Beach Park. I would like to see you guys, your organization, continue to be an active voice in this community to do things that are right. And I hope that as we move forward, I will have an exceptional working relationship with you, because I truly respect all of you and the things that you have done over the years. Thank you.
Knowing Lanai for Sensible Growth, when they first developed, I was working for the county of Maui. And one person that always come to keep in touch with me was Ron McCumber. He always was concerned about water usage. He always was concerned about where our wastewater, how many gallons we were bringing in, how many gallons were being pushed up, how many gallons were being pumped up to the golf course, and so forth. And I would, because it's public access, everything is public access with us. So I shared with him, and sometimes with the company, because it's private, they don't have to share anything. But I can share with him how many we bring in. When I first started, we was bringing in 450,000 gallons a day. Eventually went down to 310 gallons a day. So if you estimate per 7 days, we probably make 1 million gallons, but the golf course uses 1 million gallons a day. And they have a 10 million gallon reservoir in their plant. Not like Sensible for Growth. I admire you guys because you guys do upkeep, you guys do bring forth the concerns of the community. You guys do look at issues that needs to be addressed. You guys have always been concerned about the issues with water, with the park, with the community, with what's going on, within the community. And you guys would never, ever not take anything from anyone. Thank you.
So, of course, I support LSG and its efforts, and I think it's a nice opportunity to talk about Uncle Ron McCumber and how throughout the years I miss his voice because he was always yelling at me. And that's what you need. You need that Spitfire. I respect him 100% and all of his efforts throughout the years. I loved you guys leading the fight in the windmill fight. And that's really, community-based organizations, especially on an island that's owned 99% private. It's amazing that the tenacity you guys have. So I support you, and that I know he's gone, but he made a legacy, and I keep on going, keep on trucking, and it's great that you guys are still doing it. Mahalo for your service.
Okay, thank you. This next question is for Alberta. Some criticism you received on Lanai by community members is that you are pro-Pulama Lanai on all issues. How will you ensure an unbiased decision-making role should you be elected to Lanai's County Council seat?
You know, one of the senior executives of Pulama Lanai gave me a very nice donation. And she said she was giving it to me because she always knew that if I disagreed with something that was happening, that I would speak up and that I wouldn't be a pushover. If I disagreed with a project or an issue, I had an issue, I was not afraid to voice a difference in opinion. And I do that with everybody. I'm a straight shooter. I tell things the way I see them straight up after looking at both sides of an issue. And yes, Larry Ellison owns this island. Yes, he employs the majority of our people on this island. Yes, there are very, very many good things that have happened on this island since 2012 when he took over. And I want us all to see how much good we can do instead of how much chaos we can create. So the thing is to be able to work cooperatively, regardless of who the major owner is. That's where I'm coming from. We all live here, we're all going in the same canoe, we're all paddling in the same direction. So we need to be very, very clear and very firm on doing the right thing always.
Okay, thank you. This question is for all of you. How will you assist our school to develop solutions towards reducing or eliminating the ongoing teacher shortage on Lanai?
So I think we need to actually get our students to be educated in teaching. Because I think, man, you know, our kids, if they can get scholarships for teaching, they will be about the best people to teach on Lanai. Because they know the community, they know the kids. I mean, I'm thankful that we have a field book now. But you know, outside influence sometimes, there's a culture struggle in school. And some of these kids will rebel. I've seen it happen. I got a few that does rebel. So, you know, for me as a grandparent, I straighten out my grandkids very straight. And I tell them straight, you know what? No matter what, you do what the teacher says. And if you feel it's wrong, they go to another person and say, you know what, I don't believe this is correct. But I think what we need to do is try to get Lanai people to come back and be the teachers of this school. And also, if we do promote outside, sometimes their licenses don't even match up to the Hawaii educational licensing. It doesn't. So they end up leaving because they cannot get, you know, a higher pay and so forth. But I would be all out to push for bringing more teachers, especially if Lanai has those who wants to be teachers to come back. Give them an incentive. Thank you.
I see housing as our main difficulty in attracting good teachers to this island. It's a state issue. They really have to beef up their state housing for teachers here on this island. And we have been really fortunate. We have had really good people being teachers on Lanai. It's like our own Simon coming back to Lanai and being a teacher at our school, and Michelle having you back as a teacher, and Anthony is involved in the school. All of you are really, really important, and it's so nice when we can get Lanai people to come back home to Lanai to teach. So anything that we can do as a community to encourage our students to come back is a really big plus, plus, plus. We're a great community to live in, and we need to remember that.
Well, as many of you know, I was a Japanese school teacher at Lahaina Intermediate before I moved to Lanai many years ago. And I would work 5 days as a school teacher with a bachelor's degree. And then I would work 2 days as a bellman at the resort, and the pay was the same. We underpay our teachers, and it's awful. So the way, now I have 36 graduate credit degrees where I'm real close to a master's degree in education. And I think that is the key, where you have, the master's degree is where you really start having a livable wage. But are you going to be, with student debt, are you going to be in debt for 10 years to get the degree? So I think one thing I'll call on is, Mr. Ellison has that golden pledge, I think it's called, where he promised with Warren Buffett to donate all of his money before he passes away. That is an amazing pledge, and I think it would be so great to have Ulama sponsor scholarships for our teachers to go for their master's degree. You can do it online through the University of Arizona, because once you get in your master's degree, then it becomes a livable wage. Like I said, I was getting paid more as a bellman. I'll move luggage in the resort, and they'll pay me more than to teach our children. Something's wrong with that system. So I think that is a solution. We do the ask. We ask them for some charity to help our teachers get a master's degree. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. This question is for Alberta. You say you are a journalist, yet when you controlled Lanai's Today, you routinely published only pro-Big Win ads, refusing to publish paid-for opposition ads. How does that fit with your concept of being a journalist?
Well, let's be very realistic. Who's paying for the newspaper to be published? It's my advertisers that control what gets put into the paper. If we're supporting the community and the newspaper by advertising, then my advertisers have the right to direct which way we're going to go. The paper, in the time that I operated it, which is 11 years, I paid myself a pittance. Newspapers cost a lot of money to publish. But I was always able to give nonprofits a voice in the paper. My feeling was that if you were an activist against something, then fine, you could have space, but pay for it. Don't come to me for a freebie. That wasn't going to work.
Okay, thank you. This next question is for all of you. What is a symbol or an image that you personally feel represents Lanai's best?
Pu'upe'e. That's right. That's number one. Pu'upe'e to me represents Lanai, because it's a small islet off of a bigger island, and that's really the story of Lanai. And if you look at this concentrations of power, it's mainland, Honolulu, Wailuku Kahului, finally Lanai. We're at the bottom of the totem pole as far as power goes. But you look at Pu'upe'e, and it is the symbol. It's the first thing you see when you come around the corner to Lanai. And it's the story there, there's a history to it, there's a legend to it, and people, as soon as you see it, you fall in love with it.
I think the plantation was the biggest thing. Because in the past, when everybody came to Lanai, they would just say, oh, Lanai is the biggest pineapple plantation in the world. It was even advertised down at the airport, which was the old terminal to the right, where now my wife's office is at. So that, I think, was an icon. That really made Lanai what it is. There's other entities out there, the Hawaiian culture side, but I think that was the biggest thing that Lanai actually had, was the plantation of pineapple workers. And in those days, everybody was united. I don't care who you were. There were no backstabbing. There were no talking about each other. Everybody just worked together in unity. A lot of the parents that worked there actually worked there so that their children could get a better education. And they worked hard. I worked in the field. I told my kids, you know what, man, it's not a good place to be working. But it was worth it, because when I was 15 years old, I learned what hard labor was and how much it cost. I got to work with my classmates. We got to work all the way until we were 18 years old, which I was 17. They got to drive trucks. They come under our machine and laugh at us. But I think the pineapple plantation was a big icon on the island. Thank you.
So I really like the image of pineapple. mainly because pineapple has always been an international symbol of hospitality. And when you think about the plantation days, you had people coming from the Philippines and from Japan where there were no jobs, they had nothing. So they were brave enough to pack up and bring their families to Lanai's, a place they knew nothing about, to start a new life. This was part of the American dream, that through the pineapple plantation, they were able to build a home, they were able to afford a house, they were able to send their children on to college, they were able to have good retirements and a good quality of life. So for me now, today with the pineapple, it's still the international symbol of hospitality. And I see Lānaʻi as a welcoming place for people of all races, all religions, all backgrounds to come here in peace to enjoy this beautiful island with us. So pineapples, always.
Okay, two more questions. This next one is just for Alberta. Several years ago, many in the community opposed the development of hundreds of wind turbines on Lanai's that would generate electricity via an undersea cable for Oahu. You were a strong and vocal proponent of that project called Big Wind. Were you wrong then, and assuming the project was proposed again, would you still support it?
I've already talked about Big Wind, that wind farm thing earlier in today's discussion. I felt at that time that the economic benefits to our community, you got to remember where we were. We were in a recession. The hotels weren't doing that well. Our major owner was on the verge of losing the whole place. It was his effort to try to recreate an economy. And part of that was the $1 million a year in economic development money that was going to come into our town. So I went through hard times on Lanai's when I had Hotel Lanai's and we had to close it because sell my lease because I was on the verge of bankruptcy. This island has always had a history of owners coming in and eventually realizing that they could not make it sustainable. We have a chance now of making Lanai's sustainable. I would not support Big Wind now in this day and age because the technology and the times are totally different. However, I do support solar and I do support continuing research for renewable energy sources.
Okay, thank you. All right, for the last question for all of you, do you think there should be greater self-government for Lanai's? And if so, what would it look like? If not, why not?
That's a really good question, David. Okay, I think that will allow me a chance to, first off, yes, and that will allow me a chance to talk about the way we do our state districts versus our county districts. I like the idea of district voting and making it, cutting up the way we do like the state. So that would allow Lanaians more say on their county because you would vote for Hana, Lanai, Molokai, just like the way we do state. So that way, it's not right now as it stands, Wailuku Kahului decides our election. All of us campaign Wailuku Kahului, right? So that if you want local government run, you want more power in the say in how you want to run your government, you got to cut up the districts. So I'm for district voting.
I think district voting is a good idea. I think in the past it was that way. If I recall, when Goro Okama was in office, there was a point in time when Bob Harrow was about to win. That's when there was Republican and Democrat. And Bob Harrow was actually campaigning a lot, and Lanai was actually voting for him. Somehow they went with population because we don't meet the criteria of population compared to Maui. They changed it according to federal law. And the federal law states that you have to have the same amount of population or somewhat like that. And that's how we changed. But to me, district would be a great idea because then Lanai got the say. Right now, Lanai, I'm telling you, they don't have to say. Because already the Mauians already say, but we all can vote. There's voters there that say, I don't want to vote because I think Lanai should vote for their own members. But then you get the other that say, yeah, but we can vote for Lanai too. The biggest downfall with that is, number one, is there big corporations, big entities that support certain members or support certain candidates, and they'll have their way. I know this. Because in my union, they tell you who to vote for, even though we're nonpartisan. They tell you, Democrat. Simple. But yet we're nonpartisan. We should be able to say, well, I like vote for whoever I like. But it's not how it works. Not in the union. It doesn't work that way. It's Democrat, period. And that's how it's run completely in the state of Hawaii. And I know that for a fact because of the union that I sat in. But if there was a district, then all of you and all of my grandkids and all of your kids got to say, this is who I want, and I think he should represent Lanai. Because right now when you talk to people, we don't represent Lanai, we represent Maui County. And I've heard it on the last forum that we just had. Thank you. I always run you all get sorry.
You can take my
You know, I was setting my own, okay.
I like the idea of district voting. It would be so wonderful if we could all stand on Lanai Avenue and wave
Exactly.
signs and just know that only people on Lānaʻi would be voting for us. But that's not the real world, because communities like Hana or Keanai or Taupo and Molokai, we would all be left out in the cold, because once we got past the district voting, we would be fighting with people in Kahului and Upcountry and Kihei on services. I like to think of myself as representing all of the people of Maui County as best as I can. And I feel that I'm really fortunate because I have lived on Molokai, Hana, in Kahului, and Upcountry. I worked in Kihei, so I feel that I have a really good grounding in all parts of Maui County. So district voting would be wonderful, but it's just not realistic.
Okay, thank you. That's the end of the questions from their constituents and residents of Lanai. So now we'll have concluding remarks, and we'll go in the order of Gabe, Alberta, then Matt. You'll have 2 to 3 minutes.
Okay, I'm Gabe Johnson. I'm humbly asking for your vote, and here's why I want you to vote for me. Because I believe in bottom-up government instead of the typical top-down style that we've been accustomed to. Bottom-up government means, and John Q. Public can run for office, you know, and then do what's good for the people. You know, it used to be you take the farmer out of the field, they worked in the government, and then they went back to farming, or they went back to their normal job. Nowadays, we have career politicians that stay in forever, and their main job is just to keep in power. So I believe in government works best when it works for the little guy, the little person, and that's where I'm coming from. So I humbly ask for your vote, and I also think you can, if you have any questions about my platform, check it out at my website, www.gabeforcouncil.com. Thank you.
Bro?
All I know is that coming into this, I was really adamant that we need to be looking for young leaders. What I would like to do if I am elected is to work on mentoring young people to do community service, to get into government, to become a part of being in government for the people of Lanai'i. All I can promise you is that I will do my very best job and work as hard as I can for you to take care of as many people as I can. That's all I can do. I will do my best, and I will do it regardless of your economic status, from the very poorest homeless person on the street to the very wealthiest person in a resort. Everybody is important to me, and I will promise you are all my constituents, and I will treat you all fairly and equally. Thank you.
I have nothing to say. First of all, I'd like to thank Berna and Gabe. Thank you very much for today. I do appreciate seeing you guys here today, especially with this storm. I'm glad you guys are home instead of in Maui. That way you can protect your home and stuff. I'd like to thank you guys for being here, for allowing us to be here to show our manao and our aloha for the Lanaian community and whoever else is watching. There are many things that's on my mind, but I only got 3 minutes. If I had 2 days, I would explain it all. I won't. But I also like to thank my family, my wife, my children, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, my nieces who have helped me in my campaign. I think I'm the cheapest guy. I pay for everything by myself. I don't have any donations. I mean, I had, but you know, it's minimal. But I pay for everything for myself. All my trips, my rent cars and stuff. And I believe in that because I don't want to be controlled. I don't want to be controlled by any entity or any organization. And that's the way I am. My family got me into this to run. I didn't want to run. But my wife and kids came over one day while I was in the room watching TV, and they sat down and said, Dad, you know what? You can make a difference for the younger generation. You can make a difference for those who care. You can make a difference in jobs and everything else. I might not be outspoken, I might not be out there. I'm not the kind of person that goes out and show myself. I'm not. I'm very secluded. I'm very to myself and to my family, but they mean the most. But it's up to you voters. If you want to vote for me, that's fine. And if you don't, that's fine too. It's nothing personal. But I thank you for this time and for listening. Aloha.
All right, so that concludes the forum this morning. I want to thank Alberta, Gabe, and Matt again for not only making the time to participate in this forum, but overall that you guys made the commitment to want to represent our community. And we all know how difficult it is, as you guys have mentioned, because you guys have to go to 3 islands to campaign, and whereas many of the other county council member candidates don't do that. They don't have to do that. So we really appreciate the commitment you guys are making. And I know you guys don't have deep pockets, so all the more, thank you very much. And we wish the 3 of you the best in the primary election, and we'll see who comes ahead for the general.
There you go.
So again, thank you. And Anthony, thank you for your help with Akaku. And then John, Simon, Michelle. And
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Butch.
go home and prepare for the storm. Okay? Thank you.
People getting drunk. Aloha.